Hello, my name is Amanda and welcome to my channel. And I am here with Patrice. It's going to be a really lovely conversation. She is a psychological therapist and a metaphysician. And yeah, we are going to talk about initiation. So let's just dive in. Patrice, in your own words, and I know that you have a lot of life experience to back this up, so really looking forward to. What is initiation?
Right. So initiation simply um, would be a set of challenges that we go through in order to strengthen and purify us. And I know that word might be triggering for some people, like purification, no. Um, and maybe we'll get into that a little bit. Most people understand initiation as somebody, either a physical person or a guide, introducing you to a certain practice. So that's what a lot of people think initiation is. So we always think initiation is something conscious, but we actually might be unconsciously initiated. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about more about being unconsciously initiated.
So, and this is according to Rudolf Steiner, by the way, anthroposophy. I love Steiner. So Steiner says that we are initiated into certain challenges to strengthen us, right? And I have a few notes. So when I look to the side, that's what I'm looking at, my little notes, right? Because I don't want to miss anything out and I want to not cause so much distortion because of, full karmating. So try not to incur negative karma by putting out false information. But so we all of us are here on earth, right? Earth plane is a school. I think a lot of us who are spiritual knows this. So if we're in a school, we're here to learn. And when we were at school, like somebody like me thought school was just somewhere where you dump your kids. I didn't actually know, and not only me, but my friends, because we didn't know you could go to school and study and become a teacher or a doctor. We didn't know that. We just thought, yeah, parents send you to school just to get rid of you because they have to go to work. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. We're a bit unconscious of why we're here. So it's like that on earth, where some of us don't know why we're here. So even if you don't know why you're here, you're still here to learn. So that's what unconscious initiation is. And you're going to become stronger. Well, it will make you or break you. It's not like some people become strengthened and some people become traumatized, which sounds like harsh, especially when you're like, but I didn't even know. Like, like we're here it sounds really, I don't know. To a lot of people who, depending on where you are in your journey, that's going to sound real cold and harsh. But we are held. We do have our guides, and unfortunately, some of our higher selves don't really take this too seriously because they know, like they call it a game. And for us, it doesn't feel like that because we're like, we're in pain. But it's because they know we don't have to be in pain. I don't know, like, hopefully that's making sense.
Yeah,
So, but
absolutely.
yeah, sorry about that. Go on.
No, I just said, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So when we're unconsciously initiated, means the general population, things that you're going to learn is resilience. You're going to be strengthened. You're going to learn how to problem solve. You're going to learn how to build. You're going to learn collaboration. And obviously there's negative things that comes with that. Do you know what I mean? Like some people are going to do it well. Mostly in business, we see that people do these things terribly, where we crush each other because they tell us it's dog eat dog well. So that's the unconscious. Those of us who become conscious, we realize it's a soul mission that we're on. So now we're conscious about the actual point of us being here is to develop our soul. And this is why now we're here to purify the soul, because they said the purer we are, that's how we will ascend. So it's ascension alchemy. So conscious initiation is about getting rid of the vices that we have. That's what they call purification. So I see it like when you're in the balloon, do you know like they have those floating balloon and you have to let off the weights in order for it to float? I kind of see it like that. Yeah. But it's not the terrifying way that some religious people, like they made it like, you're going to burn in hell or we'll burn you so that God doesn't have to burn you forever. Like, We're doing you a favor, you know. I'm sorry, I can't help being silly.
Oh,
Well,
that's great.
you watch my video about it, you know I'm silly, so I apologize.
No, I love it. And now I don't know how much you want to get into your own experiences, but when you say unconscious initiation, can you give us just some examples of things that could happen to people when they are in an unconscious initiation, like things that could happen from the outside or just anything that might not be
Yeah,
considered like an official.
yeah. I'm going to talk about it from a perspective of life plan.
Yeah.
So some of us hear about life plan, and when I was being reawakened, I'm going to call it that, and my guide started talking to me again, and they told me, because I asked my guide, like, how can you watch all the things that happened to me and you just stand by? You know, I've been through a lot of rubbish, you know, a lot of things. And he says, I'm not human. You wanted to be human. It wasn't funny at the time, but anyway, you wanted to be human because you wanted to experience empathy. And I was just like, what the hell? You know, and so they tell us that we plan things before we came here. So there are challenges that we will go through that's going to help us. However, I need to punctuate that with, it's not just our life plan, we're also, there's a collective karma because we have a collective unconscious. So those persons who have been through certain abusive situation, especially things that happen when you were a child, you did not choose these things. This is because we're a part of a collective trauma. And one thing that was said to me, one of the first things that was said to me when I started, I'm going to call it a reawakening because I was activated from when I was quite young. So I've been with my guide since I'm conscious aware of since I was 4 years old. But I won't even get into that because it's just too trippy. But anyhow, so I had shunned all of that for reasons, you know. And when I started doing therapy, that's when things started to activate again. And I had to start to look, what is this stuff and what is going on? It was too overwhelming. Oh gosh, I've forgotten what I was going to say. See, this is what happens to me. Yeah, collective. So what was said to me was, there are persons who realize that this is a game and they call it a game. That's the word they use. They realize it was a game. And because they realized it's a game, they thought it wasn't serious and they started doing things that they weren't supposed to do. And that has a lot of child trauma. You know, there's certain words we're not allowed to use. So these are not things. So there are spiritual people out there that are claiming that everything is God. So it's God doing this stuff. To me, that's so grotesque. Or there are people who are saying, but why would I choose that? Like, that doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense because you did not choose it. This is the great darkness that, you know, has come over mankind because they're doing all kinds of things and they're in league with all kinds of things that are not even demons. They are worse than demons. So that's why. So you did not choose certain things. There's a collective trauma that we're all going through. And just to adjacent that with the fact that every one of us that upgrades ourselves, everything you do benefits humanity, by the way. So by you working on yourself, we're helping everybody. So we're not just being self-indulgent. Because some people are like, oh, this feels very self-indulgent. Why? You know, it's not. We're actually doing something good for all of humanity by us being. Even if you work on yourself, you notice that you'll be a better mom, isn't it? Like if you work on yourself, the calmer you are, you're going to be a calmer parent. Then you're not going to have children, or you know, like if you're not going to be shouting and they're not going to become aggressive. Do you know what I mean? So you can see that even just within your household, that the calmer you are, the more patient you are, you know, the more present you are. Sorry, the internet is a bit unstable. You can see that present in your household. Then you're going to see how your child is then going to interact in the world, or your spouse or whoever. So yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Being in this huge change on Earth, everybody's feeling it no matter where they are on the planet. It's affecting all of us, some people to a great degree and some people to a small degree. And I feel like the last thing that we're many people are thinking is, oh, this is an initiation. This is me being forced to shed heavy things so that I can rise. That's usually not people's front and center. But I think from what you're saying, this situation can be a potential time for initiation for people who weren't expecting it. And you've spoken about different specific trials that people can encounter during an initiation process. I remember you talking about the fire trial, but I know that there's more. So share a little bit with us about that.
All right. So one second. I read right. So and you're gonna see that this stuff. So Socrates talks about this, like those persons, they say that when you develop to a certain degree, the gods start to notice you. And you've seen the hero's journey and where the gods are playing games with these people. But oh gosh, they give me chills. Even when it seems like they're against you, they're not. The thing that seems like it's against you is for you. And by the way, I want to say, like, persons are afraid of pain, but pain is your friend. Pain tells you where your boundaries are, okay? And most people who go astray, they go astray with pleasure. And when you become weak, that's when you have nothing to do. When you're lounging and eating grapes, having someone fan you. So that sounds good. I'm in Jamaica, it's hot. That sounds real good. But you're going to be weak. And if you don't use your mind, you're not going to be, so you're going to degrade. So the things that we think of as bad, they're actually good. And the things we think of as good, too much of it is not good. So we're supposed to rest. We're supposed to have nice things and we're supposed to be happy. But this world is telling us that we're supposed to, oh, you deserve it. You deserve a good life. And we're just like, well, actually, we came here to train. If you follow the Stoic philosophers, Steiner is so much nicer because Steiner is like, oh, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. You've got many lifetimes. Stoicism, and certain like, oh God, what's his name? I forgot his name. He talks about yoga. Vivekananda, he's just like, if you can do it in one lifetime, why not? Get it in. Steiner's like, no, you don't have to do that. Take it easy, And the Stoics, they're a bit like, like happiness is all that matters, and they're serious about it. And you actually can. This is all alchemy, so you can actually get into a state of just being happy no matter what's going on. And you've seen like these Stoic philosophers, they achieve that no matter what, because that's what they're focused on. They're not focused on being comforted and things like that. So anyway, fire initiation is about losing things, simply put, losses. And it's there to help you with patience, resilience, perseverance, and faith. Obviously, when we are not aware, when we panic, we develop phobias, we become depressed, we end up with, like we're going to talk about polarity in these things, so we end up in the negative, and it's because of what we've been programmed. It's because this stuff is hidden from us. So we end up with the negative. So it's like if you were at school, again, if you're at school and you don't study, you're going to fail. And then you're going to feel bad, like, oh, and then maybe get a job packing boxes or something that you don't really like. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if you're aware of why you're here and what you can do, then you're going to want to do it. And it sounds really scary when you're in that place of fear already, like you feel weak, you feel like you can't do it, you're anxious, you got OCD, you're terrified. This doesn't feel like a game. But when you get to a certain level, then you're like, oh, I can do it, And then there's the air initiation. I put it in an order, which I don't know if it's the real order, but as Steiner says, fire is the first one. I put fire first, and then I'm putting air and I'm going, do you remember Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, when you get invaded and then you have to leave home. So you lose everything, you have to leave home. So now you're going to go and move around. So the next one is air. It's when you're traveling, you're moving around. And in that, you're finding yourself, you're discovering yourself. So I've said air is this displacement, traveling, moving, homelessness. And it's character building, and it activates different parts of you. So Jung talks about these archetypes, the more people you're around, like different parts of you come out. And you'll notice that, like, people bring out different things and you're like, what the hell? I'm a B, you know, or you think, oh, I'm really lovely, like, oh, or I'm smart, or, you know, like different things. So it's a way of activating more of you, and you become more complex and I say multidimensional, right? And then you have water, which is emotional challenges. That's to do with your relationships. You literally feel like you're treading water. You actually feel inside, you just want to give up and you want to drown. That's how you feel. That's how I felt. I like, I'm like this. And something in you saying, just give up and drown. Like Job's wife says, curse God and die, you know? You got that little voice in your head saying, just give up. You know? But you know why? If I give up, I'm going to go back into depression. I'm going to become anxious. That if I keep going, I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to learn, you know, learn how to swim. And then, I'm sorry, that's my phone. And then started talked about relationship. This person who just called me, that's my brother. I'm having like trouble with him. He really like, he brings out the devil in me. But anyways, he is my super challenge. I'm at boss level with my brother. Anyway, there's Earth. Earth is putting down foundation, putting down roots, right? So that you could be buying a home. So you, after you go through all of these things, you know, now you want to buy a home, you want to settle down, you want to have your kids, you have your career and all this stuff. And that's supposed to be final, but only when you're at the last stage. And I don't want to scare anyone, so I want to just, because that sounds really scary. So for example, if you're at a higher stage of initiation, when you know, you've seen people build their homes, you thought you met the love of your life. This has actually happened to me. Yes. Everything is going wonderful because Spirit said to me, you will do the fire dance. And I thought, oh, this is lovely. That sounds nice. So I asked the lady in the meditation class, what's the fire dance? And she's like, oh, it's when you dance around the fire. I thought it was going to be lovely. A couple of years later, they smashed my life apart. I was having this beautiful life in Ireland. Lovely, like, you know, my ex is so beautiful and lovely. And we were so in love. And then the whole thing just everything devastated. And obviously that's why I'm back in Jamaica. So but when you know, and this is the thing, what I'm trying to say is when you get to a certain level and you're aware, you do not have to have a dark night of the soul. That's optional. A lot of things happen to us because we don't know how to let go of things. So by the time you come to a certain stage, you will know. And if you're in pain, it's because you're still holding on to something. So that's why surrender is really important. I've talked so much. I'm gonna pause.
Thank you so much. Just when you were talking, I was listening to the different stages and I was like, oh my gosh, sometimes when you've passed through one, you don't realize it was a thing until it's kind of come to its own completion. And I'm sure there's more than one round sometimes. But when you're in it, it can be so hard to see it. Or to think, you might think that it's like going to go on and on forever, but it doesn't. And we do have, I totally agree with you. We do have power over that as far as like the more that surrender is part of it, the more it can pass through with ease because it's going to come either way. Like once it started.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're in the middle of the ocean. You're in the middle of your journey. Like you continue, and your ego be like, "No, go back," because at least you know where you're coming from, right? You be like, "Go back, go back into my little
But there's
cave."
nothing back there. There's like you go back and there's like it's all falling apart.
Gone. It's gone. But this is the thing. That's when you're in the final stage. Because if I didn't leave, I would have had 6 years of finance. I had to leave. I would survive there for 6 years. If I didn't take that money, come to Jamaica and invest it here, start my business again, I'll be done, right? So there was no choice, you know, and there's no going back to my ex. I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not. Basically, there's no going back. Regardless of the love that's there, there's no going back. Like he would actually, he's got a disorder. I don't know what I'm allowed to say. I'm just gonna leave. I just say I can't go back. I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not.
No, no, totally. We understand. Makes sense.
Yeah. But can I say, just to comfort some people, not everybody's going to go through this. Let me tell you, in a horrible way, not everybody chose this, right? So I'm going to go through fire, air, water, earth, right? There are persons who are simply here to give love and stability to others, right? So you're not going to go through all of that. That's maybe not your journey. So this is how you're going to go through the fire initiation in this lifetime. You're going to leave home to go to uni. So you're still leaving home, right? You losing your old ways and you're going to uni, and then you move somewhere new and you're still learning about yourself because you're making new friends and all this kind of stuff. And then you're learning, emotional stuff. You're still developing yourself. You might even create a new identity. Many people do that, like, oh, I want to be diva, I'm going to be more this. Yeah, some people they do. And then you're going to get your education. You're going to either go back home, you could go somewhere else, build a business, meet your lovely love of your life, have some babies if you want to, or travel. And that is you in this lifetime. You still had it, but that's it. And if you are having that, please do not feel guilty. Because some people, because they're empathic and they say, like, why is my life so good? They're like, oh, and they feel guilty and they feel bad. Do not, because you are there to create this stable, loving environment for people to work in. You're creating a beautiful home. That means you're going to have children who are stable-minded. That's going to help the world. So you're doing something really productive. Don't feel bad for persons who are going through things, or not say don't feel bad. We're going to have compassion, but don't feel guilty because you're not going through that. Some people have that guilt complex, like, why is my life so nice? And it's like, you're doing good for us. You're part of the collective of that love that we need it. We need your healing energy and that stability. So just for some people, not everybody's going to go through it. And if you find that your life is very tumultuous, Socrates, I always get them mixed up. There's two philosophers that I get them mixed up. But one of these Stoic philosophers says it's because the gods have noticed you. And they're like, oh, here's a powerful one. Let us train him or her. Like, yeah. And you're just like, little me, I don't have it in me. You notice the hero's journey. They're like, me, I'm the chosen one. But I don't, you know. So, and the Bible says the stone that the builder refused become the chief cornerstone. So it's always the humble people. It's never the ones that think they're great. Why would you? I can't do it. I faint. So cry through it and do whatever you need to do, but you are gonna go. Like, and I used to say I'm meditating, but really I just go and cry. That's what I used to do.
I love that. I understand that. Well, fully. I love what you said about the Bible because it's like it was like it was always like the youngest son, like
Yes.
David became King David and defeated Goliath, and
Yes.
there was like Joseph, and all his brothers were older and whatever, and it was him who was like doing the hero's journey, and it's just like it
Yes.
repeats and repeats all over the place, and
Yes.
I really love that because I think we need many many reminders all over from many stories, many myths, because when you're in that place where you do feel powerless or the youngest or the weakest or the most sensitive, um,
Yes.
you do think like, what on earth do I have with all the shakiness that's inside me?
It's a protection for you. That's what it is. The humility that you have is a protection, by the way.
Oh, I
And
love that.
the sensitivity, these are our tools. We could say weapons are tools. They're tools. Because you're not a sociopath that thinks, I am, and you're going to become a cult leader. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I wrote that down because I'm going to mention that about, like, yeah, they're like, oh, worship me. But no, well, I'm a therapist. When I go to bed at night, I'm a baby. I'm a little baby. I'm 46 years old compared to these gods, like aeons, and these creatures and these beings. Like, we're little tiny little things. Do you know what I mean? We just have to be a little centered and a little bit, I'm so goofy. I'm like, I'm surprised anybody listens to me. you know.
I love it so much. I love what you said about humility because Yeah, if someone's a psychopath, how can the higher beings really work through somebody
No,
who's already got it figured out?
no. Because they want, you remember Jesus knew that they would have wanted him to be king. We're not here to be kings. We're not here to be, the prophets, like they play the lowly roles. Anytime you see somebody too, so my brain is giving me words that I can't say. I'm just like, not that too slick. Do you know what I
That's
mean?
great.
And I'm gonna tell you something. Because we've been run by psychopaths and sociopaths for so long, the business world, and they're so-called successful, but look at what they're doing. So we think that's what we should look to. The beautiful, the well put together, the great hair, the fabulous makeup. They have even the way you move, like back in the day, like restitution people are like that. They say if you move too much, if you fidget, it means that you don't have composure. Like something is wrong with you. Yeah. So
You're
you notice how,
alive.
no, you're not supposed to do that. Notice how they do, and they do all their little power signatures and they hardly move and they're like this, and these are the people that we were trained to look up to. So a goofy person like me would be able, yeah, we'd be able to train somebody else who seems more serious that will be at the front. Do you know what I mean? But you be
Yeah.
it's the clown, the archetype of the philosopher and the clown.
Yes.
They go to
Well, those kind of ideals only keep the philosopher. There's no fool. Like they pick and choose.
no, it's not a fool. It's when you, let me tell you something, and this again is a protection for you. Because if you let people know how smart you are, they can become envious of you and you can put you in danger. So this clownish thing that happens, and it's just also this silly, it happens, and they will, even Jung would talk about it, like you cannot deal with shadow without being funny. That's number one. If you get too serious with it, it gets serious back at you. It's like, oh, we're serious. Oh, yeah. So there is a need for the clown, and it is in funniness, right? But when we're dealing with persons outside, trust and believe. If they think you're silly, they'll be like, oh, she's stupid, or he's stupid. Like, he's not a threat. They'll leave you
Yeah.
alone. Yeah. So it's important. That saved lives. That's why the fool, you see, like when in the court, the gesture is the only one that doesn't get Zed chopped off with the mad king. Because even though he's telling the king good things, stupid, so the king is like, he's an idiot. And then the king takes all the good ideas as, oh, they were my ideas, because the king doesn't remember.
They're like,
Do you know what I
okay,
mean?
no
Because he's that,
problem.
yeah, yeah. So that's why it goes together. It's a protection. So if you find yourself a little silly, a little goofy, and people said, oh, you're always so stupid or clownish or whatever, you're okay. You're all right.
I love that. I'm glad you brought that in. Um, okay, so for people who have kind of come to an understanding, it's starting to become obvious that they're actually that they're in an initiation and they can identify one of those trials. Um, what what do you recommend?
Probably you're going to see all of them. You'll likely see all of them. We're all going through relationship challenges. And the more authentic you become, the more spiteful people are going to become towards you. And the more your powers develop, because these initiations are also to develop our chakra, by the way. When we do purification, we actually develop the chakras properly because we're getting rid of certain things and it will not be deformed. So Steiner recommends using this real life, being present here, loving your neighbor, as Christ said, love your enemy, which you're going to have people that's saying, why do you let them get away with this? And do you know, like, and that's going to be difficult. Stay your course. Once you know what is right, stay your course. You're actually developing yourself up. Okay. And then certain things will not attach itself to you. Because when we develop, you'll notice that, some people just do the meditations, they're developing their personality, they're only developing meditation. A lot of them, they become a little bit you know, delusional,
Yeah.
right? And it's because their mind isn't developed enough. You have to actually develop your mind to in order for you, because there's going to be stuff coming up from lifetimes before. You're developing your chakra, but you haven't developed your mind. And then you're developing your chakra, not knowing. It's like you're going into a place that you didn't prepare yourself for. Like you're going into fire, you don't have on the proper gear. What do you think is going to happen to you, right? So when you're developing your chakra, not knowing what's actually in there, this is why a lot of people start doing things that they wouldn't think. You know the things that are going on in the world. So I don't have to say it because we're not allowed to say that and don't mess up your channel. So many people went in innocently into doing certain things, but they didn't know because your like the lower chakra is to do with your power and your libido. I'm always like not knowing what words I can use. And it's your pleasure center. So you open that and you're like, oh, hello, let's stay here. And then people start doing a whole bunch of stuff. And that takes over. And we see this happening. And Hermes says this is not what alchemy is all about. This stuff has nothing to do with the real, spiritual work. And he's very upset. This has got nothing to do, So we're innocent and we get into things, but we have to move past that stage because this is just one of the stage. Because when you are developing, they call it bliss. I mean, it's really you're having a lot, and all your cells become like. And I'll tell you what Gaia said to me, because Gaia said, if you seek pleasure, you will reap pain. So no, this is not where we're supposed to be, right? So just to my answers is very fluffy if you can make anything out of it, but
I sure can.
yeah, good.
Yeah.
So if you are being initiated and you know that, which we are, but now that you're watching this, surrender. Do not hold on to anything. Nothing belongs to you, and you're going to have to let it go anyways. And that's going to be challenging, especially for those of you who've met your twin flame. It's going to be something like, ooh. And remember that the more you try to hold on, the more they're going to run away from you anyways. Like Elmira and the cat, like, I love you. I want to squeeze you. I want to hold you. So
I forgot about that thing.
yeah.
Oh, you know what? You made me think of something that Steiner said about pleasure, and he was saying embrace pleasure only so long as it connects you with your fellow men. So it's not like we have to like avoid pleasure, but it's not the end goal. Like there are actually realms of reality and experience and connection that's way beyond any pleasure from the lower chakras.
Exactly. And so this is what happened. This is very good. Well done. This is very good because that's what the church, well, not so, I'm not allowed to say church. That's what some religious folks try to do. They try to stop us from the pleasure. We're supposed to have pleasure. That's why it's there, but we're not supposed to be stuck there. And it's for a reason.
Yeah.
It's for a reason. So that we are bonding, for example, with your partner.
Yeah.
Bonding. It's for also when you're seeing, like if you have your third eye open and it's actually quite pleasuresome when you with your sacrum and your third, but it's for viewing. It's a power, but it's not there just for you to sit there and just be blissed out all day long. You're supposed to do something. That's the point. And don't be stuck there because then other things can attach itself to you, and you can see like persons who are too interested in that, they go off and do many other things. That's the point. The energy is supposed to rise up. It's supposed to rise. We're supposed to be using it to seek source. Basically, that's if we do that, then we have a focus. Like what Christ says, or somebody said, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all things will be added. So everything becomes a byproduct. This is how we can be absolutely safe. We're not seeking power for our own glorification. We're not seeking pleasure. We're seeking the source, the same way that the plants are seeking the sun And when that happens, we bear good fruits, all right? Not sour fruits. All right.
Yes. Yay. Thank you so much. Um, you mentioned spirit guides, and some people can perceive their spirit guides and be communicated with. Other people feel like they're totally in the dark. Can you
Yeah.
explain a bit about why that happens? And then how can people connect or take steps towards connection if they feel like they're disconnected?
Okay. There are some people that, first of all, we have many, 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 many guides. Okay, we have two specific guides that come in with us. One is our teacher, and we have a protector, which is why whenever somebody does something, you're like, you're ready to like dispatch them, right? So we have those, but we may not even ever know who they are, right? And we have other guys. Some people know that like their grandparents might be there, or many people that you don't even know. So even if you don't know them, you have people present with you. Sometimes the reason you don't know is because it's not important for you to know. That's number one. If you do know who your guides are, usually, like if you have a guide that is a philosopher, for example, then that's because that's what your path is. If you have a guide who's a healer, they're making you know because whatever they are, that's what you are. So that's why you would know, because it's important to know. If you don't know and it's for you to find out, I would say take meditation class. I was going to medication. Take meditation classes, right? There are people, because I feel like we have to support those people who have given their life to this, because we spend our money on so much other stuff. Why would you not put it on yourself to say, if it's for me and if it's my best and highest good, and you must always say that. If it's for my best and high, because remember, everything comes with a good and a, it's a two thing. So if it's for my best and highest good, then this is what I would like. And you put yourself and send and ask for the right people, and you will find the right persons. And sometimes you are being guided, but you don't know. Like, sometimes as a movie comes on, or there's a song, or you make a little picture, or you do something. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's usually things, but sometimes you're ignoring it because you expect something different. You're expecting something different from what you got. I'll say something that sounds really silly, but like my nephew told me that the fire told him something. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, wow, because this is the same thing that a certain philosopher says. Do you understand? So something as crazy as the fire is talking to me, or the cloud told me something, or this rock, or the tree, and you'd be like, what? I don't want to tell anyone a tree is talking to me. I want an angel. Do you know what I mean?
Everybody
So
wants an angel.
yeah, we have guides, but we dismiss them sometimes. But each thing is a stepping stone. So when something small happens, you look at it and you say, wow, that was amazing. I want more. And so it will expand into more and more and more. But spend your money on yourself and your development. Do that. And if you do a group, you go to group meditation, it's cheaper. Do you know what I mean? But do it. And it's much more powerful than receiving things for free, by the way. And when you're supporting somebody, you're also going to be supported. So this is very important as well. And the spirit world don't like anyone that take anything for free. And that's why they say they make you struggle, because they could easily bing. And you see, but they're like, no, you must earn it. So yeah, I hope I answered that.
That was really great. I'm really glad that you mentioned investing in your development because honestly, like when you talk to people who are in touch with their guides and they have done a lot of purification, pretty often they've also invested in their own development.
Oh yeah.
They've gone to teachers, they've gone to classes, they've put in the time. It's not like they were just randomly sitting there and their guide started talking. And even if that does happen, often it's not a permanent situation because they need to really like, clarify and purify. So thank
Yeah.
you for mentioning that. We have to invest in ourselves ongoingly and constantly.
Yeah.
Um, jumping over to the idea of non-duality, and I
Oh
know
boy.
that you're really passionate about this, and so am I. There's so much in modern spirituality where people are like, oh, it's all good. It's all God. We are all one. And so, like, if something's bad or something's evil, I'm just going to meditate and dissociate from it and wait till it blows over, whatever. And my perspective is that that is just ignoring your task as a human. And just because there are realms of non-duality that are beautiful, we happen to be in a realm of duality, and this is our task. So I'm also, I guess, very passionate about it. Can you talk about this a little bit?
Ah, so I start off by saying you can do whatever you want. That's what my supervisor would say. Patrice, nobody has to do anything. I say, well, you have to blah. He'd be like, nobody has to do anything. Right. So you can do whatever you want. You can just go to sleep. And Steiner will tell you, Steiner says, if you're going to give up eating meat and still think about it, it doesn't do anything for you. So might as well eat meat, That's what he's like. So and Vivekananda says, you can't do anything for anybody anyway. So who are you? So nobody needs you. And that's what my guide told me as well. Like, who are you? Like, who do you think you are helping anybody? Right. So,
Yes.
yeah. So, and this is polarity. This is again, duality we're talking about, isn't it? Half true, half false. We're living in a paradox. Who are you to help? And yet they tell you that's your life, give your life to it to serve. And you can go to sleep if you want to, but you're going to be dragged through the hedges if you do. Right. So you could do whatever you want. And we are not supposed, and Steiner also warns to make your statements in a way that does not make anybody feel forced to do anything that they don't want to do. So being very careful of that. I don't want no karma with nobody. Don't know. Just next life, do what you want. However, however, for those of us who understand the assignment, and we are living in a dual world of polarity, male and female, black and white, night and day, even though that's our perception of, when this, but if we didn't have that, we'd be crazy. We'd actually go do lally. We have to sleep and be awake, right? And there is myself and there is you. Me and you are not one. And I tell you what happens, why people are in danger. And I wrote that down, danger of cult abuse, because this is the thing, right? If I say me and you are one, or you say me and you are one, I say, well, then, okay, so I want your bank account details. Since me and you are one, then I can do whatever I want. But then I'm like, well, isn't that the cult thing? This is why people are in danger of cults, because they say everything you have belongs to the community. And so people have their investments and they give it to the community. But the community is living in squalor. And I can have a private jet because God wants me to have a private jet, because I need to. One of those pastors that says, I can't sit with these demons. I need to. so, so our ego is there for protection. And this is the thing people talk about killing your ego and your ego. Your ego says, this is a mosquito racket, right? This is not me. I had a funny situation because I was dreaming. I was waking up out of a dream and I was a guava tree, and I was like convinced, like I'm a guava. And it felt so right. And then I was like, wait a second, I'm not a guava tree. Now, if I was to stay in that state while I'm awake, feeling like a guava tree standing in the middle of the road, that's a problem. Okay, so when you are in meditation, when you are in an altered state of consciousness, which means you're in the fourth dimension, because our mind is not in this dimension, our emotions are not from this dimension, it's projected here. Our physical body is here, our mind is not here. So your mind can do all kinds of wonderful things. Your body's here. So your body might be in a road or someplace. You might be in a home for special people like myself, So, and this is why you have to ask, where am I? Like when they ask, where am I? Who am I? what am I doing? Right? Because we get confused about where we are and who we are. And so we must know, this is me, that's you. We have boundaries. Because if that doesn't happen, your mind would actually become so blurred. And this is why, because people be asking, how does people give themselves to cults? Well, your mind is very imaginative. You're like, people are walking around saying, I'm Jesus. And people are saying, yes, he's Jesus. I know it because I feel it. You're like, what is happening? Our minds are wonderful. So we need evidence for things. And your ego is here to give you the boundaries and say, no, this is me and that's you. And we couldn't talk either without this, the separation. Like we couldn't use a mobile phone. Like when you're in your dream or if you're in meditation, whoever is talking to you, you become one with them till you're not even there anymore. It's only when you're coming away from that. So if a cube is talking to you, you become the cube. You're like, oh, I'm a cube. You can't be a cube in this dimension. So anyhow, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I totally love that. And people also say like this is not real. We're in an illusion. We're da, da, da. Well, you could say that about another realm. Whatever realm we're in right now is real for us in our
Yes,
experience right now. We need to
yes,
respect
yes,
the laws of that.
yes,
Or we don't have to, but we will
yeah.
be in more alignment if we do. And speaking of laws, you have
Mhm.
mentioned on your channel about spiritual laws, invisible laws that would benefit us to know about. So could you give us an introduction to them?
Can I just tidy up that last statement a little bit because it's so important? And this is what I said about my guide when they said they think this is a game, so they think it's not important. And there's perverted doctrines that are talking about God is doing this to themselves and it doesn't matter. How can we get to a point where we're ignoring the suffering? And by the way, these people who are saying it, they themselves suffer, and I bet they don't like their suffering, you know? So how can we just, we be okay with children being snatched and it's something is wrong with something is deeply, deeply troubling with that. But I just want for us who are still in this frequency to just know we don't want to, because it's frequencies. If you slip into a different frequency, you will have those thoughts. It can happen to any of us. This is the thing. It's a frequency that you go into. And then you say, none of it matters. It's just God doing it to himself. Because people be asking like, well, how can somebody do that? How can people, well, that's how. Anyhow,
Yeah.
so the laws. Whew. Right. Yeah, so this is Kabbalion, isn't it? Right? Sometimes I'm like the Kabbalion. Yeah, that talks about the Hermetic principles. I'm hearing the word in my head, the Kabbalion, with 3 initiates. Anyways, so I have Mad Hatter syndrome. I do try to behave. I
The
just
Master
think,
Key Society.
yeah. So this is the all is mine. The first is mentalism. The all is mine. Universe is mental, right? And as far as Hermetic states, like we are in the mind of the all. That's how they perceive it. We're all in the mind of the all because the all has to be all. It has to be all encompassing. I'm still imagining something outside of the all. I don't know. My brain is like that. Anyways, it's a lot. It's a but and this is the thing about us and our minds. That's why our minds are very creative and we have to be careful of it in terms of us becoming delusional and thinking certain things are okay. Now we can use our mind very powerfully to create things. Everything we see around us that is physical first was in our mind, and then we bring it forth, right? And also talking about mentalism, that's why we don't have to be upset about anything in terms of situations that occur to us. Is the importance that we place on it. That's what affects us. That's what changes our chemistry. That's what makes us upset. It's what we feel is important about it. If you were to practice stoicism, you just be like, stoicism says, like it's really I recommend it, but they would say like if you have a cup, right, and the cup gets broken, it's like, well, I just like cups. I don't have a favorite cup, right? But they would do that even with their own child. They'd be like, well, it's just a child. I like all children. And again, that's another way of hiding. When we talked about this, it's a way of hiding, because then you're detached from any real emotional connection. And they'll be like, well, my wife is gone for somebody else. Well, it's just a woman, you know? But we need a median range. That's really polarized. So that's on the other side of things, right? And so that's why we need middle ground. So, and then there is the law of correspondence, which is everything relates to everything else. I'm making it like based on my own work, because if I was a physicist, I'd have a lot more clever things to say that I wouldn't understand. But as far as my work goes, use this in order to change our perception and change how we feel about things, right? And so correspondence says, as above, so below. And this is why we can use what we know to try to get to understand what we don't know. So when I'm working with a client, I would say, I would use the garden, for example. You know, like when we pluck up the weeds from the garden, there was a time when I was having a nap and I had plucked weeds from outside of my office. And I woke up and I looked outside and there was some huge weed, like they were like, and I was like, where did that come from? And the thought was like, well, you didn't put something in its place. Like you weed up the weed that was there, but you didn't put something else there. And so what came, what when you pluck up certain things, what can grow, because we have loads of things in the mind, could be worse. And actually, I'm going to attach this to binge eating, for example, like developing certain, I was on a diet. And because of that diet, it activated binging, right? And even some kind of CBT work, when they take away one thing, many other things come in place.
Yes.
You didn't deal with, and you didn't put something else there. So I hope you don't get in trouble for me saying that on your channel.
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
So we can actually activate something else that's like, so vibration, everything move, nothing is at rest. It means there's always change. And vibration is also to do with frequencies, like different levels. So when we're vibrating low, this is what causes depression, by the way, and lethargy and a whole lot of different things. When we're vibrating high, I use bimbos as an example. Bimbos are always happy. We're not supposed to go into that. And always energetic. They're always, you know. But vibration, we're on different planes of existence. So they say this is the lowest vibration. This is why we're so solid. And things are harder to move here. But in the mind, things move very quickly in your mind, because that's a higher vibration. Your mind is on a higher vibration. So we can change things very quickly in the mind, but it takes a while before we see it in the physical. And then they also say, like, the spirit realm is vibrating so high. This is why we can't see them. This is why we can't. When we are connecting as mediums, you forgot to mention I'm a medium. You should have had that long intro and said, Patrice is. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Like a whole book. When we're doing mediumship, we have to raise our vibration. And they have to lower theirs to match with us. And that's how we communicate. So that's why I'm saying as well, going back to meditation being very important, because you have to raise your vibration. And also we have to clear up all the, other things that's going on that sometimes block us from our abilities. And then we have polarity, very important. Everything has two poles. But this is where I think people get the confusion about non-duality, because everything is on a spectrum. And they use like hot and cold as an example, because it's degrees, right? So even when we talk about empaths and psychopaths, and even though when I was in class when we were studying psychology, and my teacher's like, empaths don't exist. It's empathy. It's like, well, how does psychopaths exist? You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm holding grievances clearly. But 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 we're on spectrums, okay? We're on spectrum of everything. And so, but it's degrees of it until it gets to a certain point, it starts to affect us. Or when it's at a certain point, we become ineffective in certain ways. So this is why they also say love can turn to hate, because it's on this spectrum. Some would say it's fear, you know. And if we eradicate fear, then we just have pure love. So we're supposed to be in the middle. This is what Lao Tzu was talking about, the way, the middle path. Buddhism, the middle path. Christ, the middle path. Everybody talks about be in the middle, median range. Not all the way over here, not all the way over there, and we'd be fine. Be in the middle. Not too happy, not too sad. Be in the middle. Okay. And then there is rhythm. I love rhythm. Yeah. So I was gonna sing. I'm trying so hard not to be silly.
You can sing if you want.
I saw my Jamaican DJs coming. Sit down, your man is sit down steady. Anyway, so rhythm is really important to us, actually. There is a rhythm of how you breathe. Do you know, like, rhythm can be attractive to us? The way a person, the breathing, the way a person talks. So sometimes you can't listen to somebody, you find them jarring, and they talk about resonance, like you and them are just so disjointed because you and them are just out of sync. So that's what's going on. You're just like, I can't, like for me, my character is jarring for a lot of people. I'm sorry. But and some people love me. Some people, you're like Marmite. Some people are like, oh my God, you're so lovely. I love you. And then other people are like, oh God, what a clown. It's like, it's where the person is. That's why you need to be where you are. It's okay. And anybody who's not for you, as you're developing, that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to be out of rhythm with other people. They're going to be like, what is this? And the persons who are closest to you, that's why a lot of people become lonely as well. You prepare for that because you don't have to be lonely, guys. And there will be people, the more you are vocal and don't be afraid of saying, then the right people will be attracted to you, because that's what rhythm is about. Resonance. Rhythm, you hear my Jamaican accent. Rhythm is also about time. It's about cycles. And so the more we develop, the more predictable, then routine. That's what it's about. The seasons of the year. You know how the planet started out a bit chaotic and then it calmed down, and then we have, it's predictable. So now we can plant in seasons. So rhythm is about seasons. Rhythm is about becoming, and our mind needs it. That's why we find what is it? TikTok. That's why TikTok has that effect on us. We like loops. The brain loves the loop. And we're like, what am I doing? Yeah, we're locked in the loop. So we need, and that's, we need that rhythm. It makes us feel safe as well. But also we need to be out of it in order to learn something new. So we need both. And that's, again, where this polarity comes in. We need both. So we need structure, we need stability, but we also need something else for us to be able to learn. So when we're learning, we're actually learning in spiral. We're learning and growing. Every time we go around, just like in school. So when you're at school, you learn maths in year 2. You learn a higher grade of maths in year 3, 4, 5, blah, blah, blah. So every time, even though school looks linear, but we're actually cyclical. We're going around, going around. Hope that makes sense. Anywho.
Yeah, I love that, because so many times people will say, like, I thought I dealt with that issue, and I really thought I dealt with it really well. And then I moved on and a couple years passed. And then, like, I got almost like an identical person and situation, like almost to the T, come in my life. And it's like, did I not pass that test properly? And so, but there's like subtle refinements that we can make. It doesn't mean you failed the last time.
No, and it's refinement. You know what I try? You know how, I don't know where you live, but in England, we have recycled water. Poopy water. There are levels that it has to go through. So we're like that. Yeah. So we're not drinkable yet, you know. Yeah, that's all that is. It's a little bit more refined. Anyway, something we think about later. We're like, ooh, poopy water. Nice.
Wouldn't we want to refine it to the next level if we think of it that way? No problem.
This water, you can't see it. You can't see it. You can't see it. But if you were to test it, you'd be like, oh, there's a lot of things in here. Yeah, there's some parasites in here. Anyways, cause and effect. Oh boy. So cause and effect. It's about, for every cause there's an effect, right? So nothing happens randomly. And when you're talking about this person who thinks that they've dealt with things, and no, yeah, there's still stuff going on, you know. So cause and effect is actually karma, and karma is good or bad. Your karma is a net result of what you've been working towards. Karma is not a bad thing, and karma is our great justice system in the universe, and all of us are in it together. And some people think that they're going to leave the earth and this and that, and, you know, and leave us all to it, not reincarnate again. It's like, oh, well, if you don't want karma with other people, you've got to forgive them. That's what forgiveness is all about, by the way. Because I'm like, I do not want my energy entangled with yours. Thank you. And more people like you coming in. So we let it go. We're like, thank you for the lesson. And we let it go. And we keep on not wanting to hold, but we have to actually work through. We can't pretend it. Because again, we talk about vibration. The spirit world is listening to you, not the way your words, like, oh, now I'm over it. Ah, I have a friend. I have a friend that says, my fingers were crossed. It's like, I was like, you're an adult. What are you talking about? How can you believe? Like, how am I supposed to know your fingers were crossed?
Spirit world doesn't care if your fingers are crossed.
No, but she would tell you something and she's
Yeah.
not being genuine. She's a sociopath, but anyways. And she'll say, but my fingers were crossed. Like, oh, what are you talking about? You're an adult. So there are persons who think we can lie to the universe or lie to ourselves. And we can't, because your subconscious is listening to you like, no, Patrice is not serious. He says he wants to quit smoking, but no. And then you say, oh, my subconscious is sabotaging me. No, they're not. They're listening to you. The moment you're genuine and you say, this is enough, everybody's like, oh, she's serious, because they're feeling you. So when you're really done, that's when you're done. But it's a feeling, there's a vibration. That's what they're listening to, not your words. We're liars. It's just, so that's cause and effect. And oh goodness, I think again, Steiner, I love him so much. He says that even if a slate falls off the roof, we should find a way to blame ourselves for it. Like, how did I cause that? That's a way of gaining power. So we must take responsibility for everything. And this is also a Stoic practice. Take responsibility for everything. Because if we try to make another person responsible for what's happened, we lose our power because we want them to come and say sorry and them to come and do the right things. Like, well, they're not going to because they're having their problems. Or the person is dead and you're still having the effects of the trauma. You have to be the one that deals with it. They're not here anymore. But that's why I don't deal with accountability. Like, I'm just like, but what if the person is dead? What if they never say sorry? Some people tell you that this never happened. They will look you in the eye and say, this never
Hold on
happened.
one sec, Patrice. Hold on
Mhm.
one sec. I'm just going to pause this. I'll edit this.
So cause and effect, nothing is random. If things are happening, sometimes they say you're drawing this to you because you want the lesson. So huge. So you'd be like, what do I want? What do I want from this? You know, there's a lot of empaths that draws narcissists to them because they're the yin and the yang, you know, and you're full of light, they're filled with darkness. And this is what shamanism calls that soul sickness. their actual soul, if you were to see it, just look black. Nothing is in it, not a speck of color. And so they need you, they need the light, and you need something from them too. And so you need to find out, what do I want? So that you can stop it. So you can say, okay, I don't want it anymore. Okay. I want to choose. I want to choose an empath. I want to choose another. I want to choose something different. So when you know what it is that you want, what is the lessons that you're trying to gain, then you can let that go. But you have to be honest. And that's quite horrible when you're dealing with trauma. But it would, like I said, in therapy, you don't go certain places with a client. If they can't tolerate it, they just can't. You're just there to hold them, to help them to be functional. If they stay long enough, and again, they can leave anytime they want. You can't say, oh, you need this therapy. You can like, because autonomy is so important. Them having their power to leave is very important. So you say, if you finished, that is perfect. Or if you want somebody else, that is perfect. Like anything that the person chooses, that's what's right for them. And you must remember that no matter what you're doing, this is right. This is what I want. If you want to sit on your couch, sit on your couch. If you want to get up and go and do that, you are free. No one can tell you what to do. Autonomy is one of the most important things. So yeah. Anywho, then the last one is gender. So they say, and this is why we know that God is Mother, Father, God, which I was like, I was scared to say in the beginning, like mother, because the feminine has been like, God, a woman. How disgusting! How absurd! A female, lower ranking species. God is the only father, but everything male and female. And the wonderful thing, like the plug and the socket, that's how we make electricity. That's how we make babies. That's how we make flowers. When we learn spicy education at school, they told us about the birds and the bees. I didn't know what was going on. When I was like, oh, is that what that was all about? It went over my head. They actually teach you about pollination. I was like, this is a
Did they
gardening class. I thought
did they teach they were using birds and bees like to try and teach? Oh,
that's why they call it the birds and the bees. This actually
I
what it is.
didn't realize that that was still kind of going on in the last, 50 years
Well,
in
I'm
school.
old. I'm old. I'm 46 now. Back in we to talk about pollination and oviums and all these things and the bees getting, like happy time, And I was like, oh, it's gardening class. It's great.
No wonder kids are so confused.
I'm confused. This is
Right.
why we got so many. That's why my mom has so many babies. We didn't know. Anyway, so everything has a male and a masculine and feminine component to it. And for me, that's why we know that God has to be both. And the Holy Spirit is more of a feminine energy. I don't know why I just want to say that. My shadow's like, talk about the Holy Spirit being feminine. They would be upset. And even we talk about our left and right hemisphere. Neuroscience says we learn through the right hemisphere. We pass it on to the left. And I don't know if you saw my video about, I'm plugging my video. No kidding, I'm kidding. My video on Adam and Eve. What was it about the dragons and such? I don't know the name of it. But it's where Eve was the one who received the plant medicine. Because Eve,
Okay.
the feminine receptor, the feminine is the receptor. So this
Yes.
is why she was the one who received the medicine. Because we receive through the right hemisphere. And then the left says, oh, what is this? This is nonsense. Dash it back. By the way, they say it happens about 8 times before the left hemisphere is convinced of something. So we also need to be careful about repetition. This is why people
Yeah.
believe things. When you hear something, this is why people are stuck. The more you hear something, the more you believe it. And then it's hard to come out of it. But if you're believing
Eight
something
times
without
then. Eight
8
times, that's when
times,
it starts to sink in.
that's what they say. And by
Mhm.
12 times, you're ready. Like, that's why it takes 12 weeks. Like a lot of therapy would be 12 weeks. And then it's not enough, but it's enough to get, something, and then you can continue your practice.
Yeah.
you know, and but that's what commercials work. Because the first time you're like, oh no, second time, ooh, you know, you start getting like,
That's
oh,
interesting.
I need that. I want that in my life. And you're like, wait a second, why? You didn't want that before. Yeah, I need it. I need it. You know, so I think I think I got through that.
Thank you so much. When you were talking, I can't remember now which law it was, but you were talking about in one of your videos, and it relates to one of these laws, feeding the light wolf and feeding the dark
Oh,
wolf.
the dark hole.
Yeah, and
Yes.
like so many times people are like, "Oh, I don't want to feed the darkness. I don't want to feed the evil. I don't want to feed the bad." And it's like, no, that's not what that means. He just mentioned
Yeah.
talk about that for a moment. 'Cause I
Sorry, I'm
love
thinking
that.
about deck. No, no, no. It's because my brain, like when it's like, be the dark wolf, the dark passenger. It's like, no, no. Dude.
Not that.
Basically, what it means, it's nurturing your shadow. We cannot ignore it. How can you ignore it? You have to nurture your shadow. We little gremlins in there, and we have to talk with them, you know. And Jung says we have to give them form. We have to. This is what shadow integration is all about. You can't pretend, you know, like how they when they had a child that so-called wasn't perfect, like back in the day, and they dash it in the attic and ignore it, like. Or somebody had a mental issue, and because they didn't know what to do, they would, you know, they were ashamed of it. And so this is what we do to our shadow. It's all the things that our society says is not good. We just lock it away. And sometimes they're the best things about us. The worst thing, remember the law of polarity? Your worst trait, the worst thing about you is actually the best. When you polarize it, it's cool. I'm like, ooh, I'm having a hallelujah moment, you know? And and the thing that is the best about you, that's actually your worst when you polarize it. So if you're an obsessive person, let me like, oh, don't be obsessive. Don't be an overthinker. Study. Do you know how we can use that obsession to study? These scientists would be doing experiments like 3,000 times. That's a good thing to do with your brain instead of becoming, you know, the other way, which it could be very, you know, troublesome. So use it for positive. So whatever there is that's troubling you, it needs, and I talk about our shadow, like I talk about toddlers, little monsters that they are. Leave them, have a bunch of toddlers, leave them with your crayons and the paints or anything. Go to the bathroom. I left my son and went to the bathroom because you have to do that as a mother. You must go to the bathroom. I came back and the whole house, the whole room was covered in the baby. You know the thing that you put on. It's covered.
The what?
You know the thing that you put on the bum for rash, so they don't get
Yeah.
rash.
Yeah.
Thing that you put, he covered it like he covered. It's like a grayish thing. He covered the whole door, everything with it because that's what he
Oh,
had to play with. You know, my son, and he's 17 now. He says, like you say, he says, my other son is so boring. And he had to come into my life to give me something to do. He's like, Mom, but you could write a book about me because you would have nothing to do. You know, and people wouldn't come to my house because of him. And my mom my mom said, there's something wrong with him. I said, he's got a sense of humor. I said, I'm not injecting my child. They would want you to, and my son is a genius. He's so fantastic, you know. But he was like, because he feeds on the energy, and they'd be like, "What's wrong with him?" I said, "You are, because you're giving him your energy. Like he had to just be contained, like you know." So, but if you don't want to see certain things in your child or in yourself, you're going to try to suffocate it. People be medicating their children and quiet them down because I will tell you, listen, my children, I am not going to be muting them because of you. And I can't take them out, love, so we can't go anywhere because I didn't want to, like, I don't want to squash their little spirits. I want to be titans, and that's what they are. And if you see from where my son was to what he is now, like, and if I had tried to quieten his shadow, like, he's a big character. And that's also to do with your lineage too, by the way. So sometimes if we don't know these things, like you've got certain children from certain lineage, and you're going to have some interesting times with them, you know? So we need to embrace ourselves. And the more we can embrace our shadow, right? The more we'll embrace other people, the more we would have compassion towards another person. So this is what they're talking about, feeding the dark wolf. Don't starve it. Don't lock it down in a cave. Don't say it doesn't exist or try to, people shame their children and they break them. And so all of the things that mom doesn't want, dad doesn't want, that's what goes in. But if you're actually yourself, not harm anybody, we're not harming anyone, but we're just a bit like how I'm goofy, I am just goofy. If I'm not goofy, I'm goofy. So if somebody cannot accept you being goofy, and I'm very well respected, you know what I mean? But people know, like, when I'm serious, I'm serious. I can still talk sense and still be like, that is okay, and that's authentic. But if you got to be this, if you feel inside of yourself, you will feel the energy in your gut. This is what causes depression. You're not being your true self. You're suppressing your energy. You're suppressing your goodness. And that's what's causing depression. And many times over, like this is why Jung was able to reach people, because he could work with the shadow. And many people that other people couldn't help, he was able to help them because of that compassion. And so I don't know if I'm allowed to talk a little bit about a child I was working with. I do talk a lot.
I have no idea. Like, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what YouTube is.
No, but yeah, no. I'm not going to say, I'm just talking about the shadow, right? So I was working with a 12-year-old girl, and when she said she was being beaten by her parents, and then the head of pastoral care, because I was working in a school, they said, should we call social service? I said, no, let me talk to her first. And because I have worked with certain children before, so I know sometimes they make up stories. So I said, let me talk to her first. I spoke with this girl, and because she could see the absolute love, and in therapy, they call this unconditional positive regard. And she knew it and saw it, that I saw her and I accepted her. She told me that she threw herself down the stairs because she wanted to break her leg because her friend had a broken leg and the friend got a lot of attention. Now, nobody's going to tell you that if you don't show them absolute love. And her parents could have gotten into so much trouble because it would create a frenzy that would feed whatever she needed, because she wanted attention, remember? So the more trouble her parents got into and the more chaos that happened, that's the more would feed that thing in her. But what I told her is, you're beautiful, because she's beautiful and she's talented. I said, get your attention in a positive way. I'm going to tell you, all attention is bad. Everybody needs attention. In fact, I won't get into that. I'll just leave that aside. But attention is important to humans, because otherwise I'll talk forever. Because law of correspondence, everything relates to everything else. I could go on for, but anyways, we don't have infinite time. But because you love, a person will tell you, and people tell me things, and they will tell it to you when you love yourself, and when they can see this is pure love here, they will tell you. So this is what it means by feeding the dark wolf, integrating your shadow. If you need attention, don't get it in a negative way. You can get it in there's nothing wrong with you wanting attention. That's how you're built. You're built like that, you know. And if you're obsessive, you're built like that. That's a part of the, like JavaScript. So, but do it in a good way. Use your obsession to help other people. You'd be great at studying. So I can leave it there. I think that's good.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I really appreciate all that you have shared with us. So much to think about. I was making notes while you were talking. And yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to share before we go?
I talk so much, I think I'll leave it. Now I know why these podcasts go on for so. I'm like, what are they talking about so
Oh,
long?
there's just so much to say.
Oh
I
my
will put
God.
your link to your website and your business so people can find you in the description.
I,
And other than that, yeah, thank you so
I, I,
much.
I could just say, like, the reason why like I came to this is like we are being silenced, and it's not even as bad as it used to. But back in the day, like, they used to burn persons like us. So if all we have to do is a little bit of discomfort, or people coming at you for saying something can be cured that they claim can't be cured because they want to make the money out of it, like, we're okay. We have to keep pushing. Do you know what I mean? And so anyway,
Yeah.
but I'll leave it there. And thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank
You've been so
you.
patient with me. You
Oh,
were so
I
patient.
enjoy listening to you so much. You've got so much to
Yeah,
share, and I just appreciate it.
yeah, very much.
Okay, bye-bye.